Hi guys, welcome back. I just got back from a walk / slight jog, which if you know me at all is a red flag. But we will talk about that later in the video. Today I'm going to do a little bit of the Q&A with questions that you sent me on Instagram. Anything pertaining to kind of money, budgeting, no buy, all that stuff. I've also just drunk a bunch of ice water and now my mouth feels really numb, so I feel like I'm slurring my words. So first and foremost, I thought I would explain for those of you who haven't watched the previous videos and maybe aren't totally clear, because I did some videos like this last year and I kind of just picked them up again this year as if you've watched everything previously. A no buy would mean different things to different people. To me, it's like a reset of habits. So it's not necessarily that I need to save for something specific or that I can't afford to spend the money that I'm spending, but I kind of identify behavior from time to time where I recognize, yeah, you're spending more money on things that you don't really need right now than you usually do. And that's when I decide to do a no buy, because I just need to go kind of cold turkey, reset those habits. It's the same thing, probably once or twice a year. I try and do intermittent fasting. This is not to lose weight specifically. I don't own weighing scales. Weighing scales I own. I don't own scales that could weigh me. But that's not the purpose of that. The purpose is to reset my eating habits. So it might be that I'm snacking late at night and then I struggle to sleep because I've got indigestion. It might be that I'm really, really tired by kind of midday and I'm recognizing certain things that I'm eating in the morning aren't that great for me. That's the purpose of that for me. And it's kind of the same way with the no buy. I just like to kind of reset the whole thing so that I, after a couple of months of doing it, don't automatically check out my Amazon cart. So diving into the first question, do you still window shop or browse the apps for after the no buy, or is that too tempting? Yes. So I don't window shop very often. Like I don't spend a lot of time like looking on ASOS or Boots or whatever. That's not something that I tend to do anyway. My worst things in terms of overspending are supermarkets, which someone asked about and we'll get to that, and Amazon. It's something where I'll sit and think, oh, you know, we could really do with whatever. Could literally be anything. I'll go, oh, I'll look on Amazon. Oh, I'll buy it now. We need some new lights for outside. We need some new cushion covers. We need, it could be anything. It could be tiny. It could be large. It's just too easy. And Amazon is 100% a massive, massive thing for me. It has been Amazon Prime Day sales this week. We've had a question about that as well. But window shopping like that that's not really my vice. Do you find yourself spending money on things like skincare because you think of it as essential? So it doesn't come up very often, but I'm in a very unique position where I have been sent things. So at any given time, it would be unusual for me to desperately need to buy shampoo or skincare, for example. I usually have a reserve of things that have been sent to me for review from brands. Under normal circumstances, if that weren't the case, then yes. But I would probably either get something cheaper or I would replace the thing. Specifically, when I run out, I'd get exactly that thing again. But I wouldn't, like currently, if I really wanted to buy like a face mask or something, I wouldn't do that. That's part of the no buy. Does spending money help you if you are struggling mentally? So I did say at the beginning of this video, we would get back to the fact that I've just been for a walk. If you watch my vlogs, you'll know this week, I don't know, I think it's probably been building for a while, but I'm in a real funk. In actual fact, it's probably been building for quite a while because it's probably the reason that I decided to do the no buy. Part of the identifying the like not so great behaviors with my spending are you're leaning on this too much when you're not having a good day. Do you know what will make me feel, oh, I'll just buy this thing. It doesn't even make me feel good anymore. I don't understand it. I used to get a real buzz. I would say still, if I was to go out and like try on some dresses and find a dress that really fit me nicely and buy that dress, I would still get that thing. But I don't get that buzz from buying something on Amazon. So I don't really understand it, but I definitely do associate shopping with stress. And I definitely overspend when I'm stressed. If I went to the supermarket and I'm feeling low, I'll buy myself extra bougie food. I'll get myself like something extra nice, or I might buy myself, in the wintertime, I remember I was really like going through a bit of a lull and every single time I went to the supermarket, I got some face masks, I got some like cozy socks, sometimes I bought myself pajamas, something that I would think would solve the problem, basically. So yes, definitely, I do struggle with that when I'm struggling mentally, but that's part of why I'm doing this. Any Prime Day purchases or regrets? No Prime Day purchases, no regrets. Do you have any tips or advice? What is your experience with saving? So one of the things that I said last year when I was saving for something specific, we knew we were either going to move or eventually we decided to buy this house, buy my parents out of the portion that they owned. We knew we were saving for something specific, and I knew that not only did we need that money for the sale and all of that stuff and the mortgage, but we also needed to furnish the remainder of the house because we only had furniture in half of the house. So I knew I had kind of a purpose, which I always do better with. Every single year I have a tax bill because I have to do my own self-employed taxes for YouTube. And so I have to be mindful of saving specifically for that as well. I'm definitely better at this than I used to be. And I've just had to kind of find myself ways to do it. Now, especially with the YouTube stuff, I try to take a percentage of anything that I earn and put that aside, something I never did before. But in terms of random saving, one thing that I found was really, really effective, and I've done this in different ways throughout the years. I used to do it with cash. I used to, every time I took cash out, I mean, who does this anymore? But every time I took cash out when I was like paying the childminder or whatever I was doing, I would take out another 10 or 20 pounds and I would put it in a money box at home. This is not the safest way of saving cash, but I did save quite a lot of money quite quickly because you don't realize how much money you waste on nothing. So that's kind of how I used to do it a long time ago. And then last year, I started doing it again in a different way. Every time I wanted to buy something online specifically, so let's say, for example, I'm online, I'm like, I need some more outdoor lights. There, £35. Instead of buying them, I would transfer that £35 into a separate account into my online banking and forget about it. At the end of the month, if I wanted to buy that, I could. Chances are I'll be happier to have had this like little savings pot wrapped up than I would to have the new outdoor lights. That I have found is a really, really effective way of doing it. Most of us, I realize not all of us, but most of us have some kind of disposable income that we are wasting on nothing. We could potentially squirrel away small amounts, but it all adds up. Things like Top Cashback. I took my dad out for Father's Day, went to Miller and Carter, and like 75% of it was paid for with Top Cashback vouchers because I use Top Cashback for everything wherever possible. There are so many different little ways of kind of saving or managing to kind of squirrel away small amounts of money if you look for them. And they don't have to be, it doesn't have to be like on payday, every month transfer like £100. It can be slightly more sneaky ways. So you're almost kind of sneaking it past yourself. If you transfer money on payday, if you're like me, you know that money's there. It was all at once. You could always take it back. If you are specifically thinking, I would have spent that £35 on this thing, that money would have gone. It just would have gone. Let's pretend it's gone. I found that to be more sustainable. How do you get your spending under control when you start splurging a bit too much? With a no-buy. How do you manage house or joint expenses, i.e. do you have a joint account? So years ago we had a joint account, and then when we moved into this house we did things slightly differently. Everything was in my name, everything went out of my bank account. Now we have another joint account again. So I can't recommend this highly enough because then, I personally, I'm all for separate spending, separate accounts, separate everything. I want my money to be my money. I want his money to be his money. But it's really, really useful to have a separate third account for bills. So every single month we transfer half the same amount of money each into the bills account and the bills go from there. We transfer that money and never think about it. I have that account on my online banking so I can see at any given time how much money's in there. If we end up putting too much money in there eventually, we can split the pot if we want to, or you can leave it in there because sometimes you have unexpected bills and it's nice to be able to kind of draw from that pot of money you know you don't need. Got two questions from the same person and I have to be honest with you, I was defensive as soon as I read them, which is ridiculous because the whole purpose of this series is to be super candid and make this less of a taboo issue. Lots of people lean on spending and struggle with this kind of thing, and I want you to know you're not alone. It's definitely easy to like pull yourself out of it as long as you kind of mindful of what you're spending, and you're a little bit self-aware. So the first question was, have you ever considered therapy for the shopping addiction? And I can't blame her for asking this question, because partly I asked for the questions, but also it might be that I have misrepresented what this is. It could be that she's misunderstood what this is, or it could just be that it's so unusual for people to talk about this that it's the only way that you can understand is that it would be a shopping addiction. I would compare it more to the difference between comfort eating and being addicted to food. They're two different things to me. I am a comfort shopper. The other question she had was, do you think setting yourself a weekly budget would be more effective than a no-buy month? Yes, but again, it depends, as I said at the beginning of the video, on what you're hoping to achieve. So the no-buy is just a reset. It's not a long-term solution. Long-term, that's the goal. After you do the no-buy, then I'm like, right, okay, now you can spend this amount of money per month, which enables you to save this amount of money. That's down the line. The no-buy is like step one. Last question I think we have is, how do you not lose control in the supermarket? So going back to the joint account, what we used to do a long time ago, pre-COVID, was we always would do a weekly shop. We did a click and collect weekly shop at Asda, and that saved an incredible amount of money, and not just on the food shopping, it's the being in the supermarket. Now, Lee is not an impulse buyer like me. He is very, very careful with money, whereas I am like while I'm in here buying cheese, let me also spend £30 on other things that I didn't need, which was part of the no-buy, and so recently that's not been a thing. Haven't really been going to the supermarket very much at all. But even Lee says that when he goes in for food, 2 or 3 times a week, he's like, well, also I'll get this, also I'll get this, well, probably could do with these things, I'll get some chews for the dog. Even he feels like he's spending more money than he usually would. So if we're both doing that 2 or 3 times a week because we're not getting a weekly shop, it's an issue. So we've gone back to doing our click and collect. Pre-COVID, it was fine. During COVID, all the click and collect slots were out. Understandably, people that were shielding, people that didn't want to go into the supermarket, it became impossible to kind of sustain our regular routine. So we've gone back to it now, and we've started putting money into our joint account that already pays for those weekly shops. In between, if we need to get things, then we can. But the idea is the majority of our meals and our basic stuff, you know, like bread, milk, cheese, that kind of thing that we have in, some freezer food for the kids, some snacks for them to eat, like breakfast bars and things like that in the morning. And then we've got a few meals that I'll cook in the evening times. Everything is kind of planned for the week. We will still need some fresh stuff, but the majority of it is done. And I shouldn't need to set foot in any of the surrounding supermarkets, which will massively cut down on my impulse spending. I just got one last question. I was just looking through and checking that there were no more before I ended the video, and I did just get one last one that I thought was really interesting. I've actually put it to like on a poll on Instagram stories because I found it, I think it might be quite interesting to see what people think. She's asked, do you believe in splitting household bills 50-50 or based on income, e.g. 60-40, 70-30? Now, I personally feel really strongly that I want it to be a 50-50 split for everything. So like holidays, any kind of actual proper bills. If we go out for dinner and he wants to pay more than me, I'm cool with that. I can make my mental peace with that. But if we're actually paying for something, I want it to be 50-50. Now, we probably earn similar amounts of money. I've never been in a situation where someone earns like disproportionately more money than I do, and I don't know how I would feel in that situation. I've also never been like part-time stay at home. I've always been kind of part-time working and part-time self-employed. It's all down to the individual and how you feel specifically. I think the reason I feel so strongly about a 50-50 split is actually more about my own personal insecurities. I feel really like I need to retain some independence. I need to know that I'm paying my way. That is all me. I have absolutely no feeling about the way other people split their bills at all. That is like, it's definitely an internal thing. If someone said, I'll pay all the bills, it's no problem, I would really struggle with that. And that's not necessarily, like, there's nothing wrong with either way you do it, but I feel like my reasoning for feeling that way is not entirely sound. I think it probably is, it more is like a stubbornness than anything else. But I thought I would just put it out there because the vote currently, let me have a look. Okay, currently it's 62%, 50-50. This is confusing. 38% for like an income percentage. And I've only had that up for a little while. I only had 168 votes. I am actually really surprised at that split. I thought it would be closer to a 50-50 split. So I'm really interested to hear what you think of that, because that is something, again, really taboo. People don't talk about it. When do you ever discuss how you split your bills in your household? That's never a thing that comes up. But interesting, I thought. Let's discuss among ourselves. As I said, no judgment whatsoever. My reasoning for wanting a 50-50 split, like it could be my last penny and I'd still want it to be a 50-50 split. That's not, I don't think that's great. But that is how I feel. Whereas if someone pays all of your bills and you're comfortable with that, more power to you. I have no judgment whatsoever. Anyway, that is it for today's Q&A. I thought those questions were quite interesting. If you've got any more, let me know. If you've got any topics specifically that you'd like to cover, or like specific themes, I think this would be quite interesting to do as a live. I'll tell you in advance if we're going to do that. I think on a Sunday afternoon or something would be quite a good time. Let me know. I'll get a general consensus if you want to do that, when you would want to do that, because I think this kind of thing is better kind of as a back and forth anyway, which is why I like a Q&A. But yeah, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!